Okay, so good afternoon again, and welcome to today's webinar, which is an overview of PA recycling markets and facility construction, embodied carbon, and lowering carbon in facility construction. The webinar will focus on exploring the recycled materials market within Pennsylvania, as well as actions that can be taken to further grow the use of recycling in facility construction. Today's presentation will also cover how to minimize the carbon footprint of building construction materials and why that's important today. My name is Mark Hand. I'm the GreenGov Council Director, and the GreenGov Council was established by the Governor's Executive Order in 2019, and the executive order requires Commonwealth agencies to lead by example on different areas of sustainability. The executive order also set a climate goal for Pennsylvania, which is 26% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2025, and then 80% reduction by 2050. So we have quite a bit of work to do. And so hopefully these educational events will help build some capacity in that regard. The executive order also creates specific goals for agencies around fleet electrification, high performance buildings, annual energy reductions, and the use of renewable electricity. So over the past couple of years, now Matt and I have been working on building out sort of the GreenGov Council and the website. And so there's lots of information on the website with completed agency certification checklists, past annual reports of how we've been doing year over year. There's a new one that's coming online later this month, a new annual report. You can sign up for newsletters. You can sign up for more of these webinar sustainability series events, and you can also look at past sustainability series recorded events such as this one. So that website is www.dgs.pa.gov/GreenGov, and we will also have that in the email to all of you afterwards. So our webinar is also co-hosted and supported through partnership with Penn State Sustainability Institute. And I would like to introduce Peter Boger, who is our partner and for all these series over the last couple of years. And Peter is the Assistant Director for Community Engagement at Penn State Sustainability Institute and is responsible for developing strategic programming and partnerships such as this one with us and on the GreenGov Council. And so I just wanted to pass this over to Peter to introduce Sustainability Institute.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you everybody for joining us today. We're once again thrilled to see so many people here and excited for this conversation. As Mark mentioned, we've been doing this partnership now for about 2 years. I think it's a critical conversation because it's an opportunity to bring together people from both state government, local government, from the academic communities across Pennsylvania to think about these common sustainability challenges that are the domain of both the GreenGov Council and of the Sustainability Institute. But when I say domain, one of the things that unites us in our mission is that neither of us is the owner of sustainability, either for the state government or for Penn State. Really, we are conveners. We are catalysts. Our job is to build the community and to help empower others, because these are tasks that are too great for any one agency, institution to take on. And so at Penn State, what the Sustainability Institute seeks to do is to help all the units across Penn State's 24 campuses think about how do we institutionalize sustainability into teaching, into research, into community engagement, student engagement, and our operations. And similarly, Mark and Matt with the GreenGov Council are thinking about how do they empower all the other agencies in Pennsylvania state government at the Commonwealth level. And we're hoping through this series that we can also reach out to municipal governments as well. So we're excited by this partnership. We're excited that you're here. We are building together a community by all of us being here. And we're excited this year, especially, that most of our speakers are really helping us think through how do we tackle these challenges of climate change. So thank you so much for joining us, and I'll hand it back to Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I'm going to stop sharing now and give our presenters a chance to tee up their presentation while I introduce them. That's probably the most efficient use of the time. So Sean Casey is going to be our first presenter. Sean is a certified energy manager and a lead AP. He's vice president of operations at Sustainable Solutions Corporation. He has experience in conducting energy audits, renewable energy assessments, strategic energy master planning, energy modeling, sustainable operations assessments. Sean graduated from Dickinson College with a Bachelor's of Science degree in physics and University of Colorado at Boulder with a Master's of Science degree in building systems. And he's a certified energy manager and also a lead AP with the Green Building Council. And I will also introduce Bob Bailone, who's going to be the second presenter. Bob is the president and chief executive officer of the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center. The Market Center is an independent Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation with a mission to reduce or eliminate barriers that lead to new expanded end use of Pennsylvania recycled items and materials. In Bob's role, he leads a statewide team to bring markets and economic development assistance to near endless lists of stakeholders, including entrepreneurs, manufacturers, recycled material processors, recycling programs, haulers, and agency officials. The Market Center has an affiliation with Penn State, is headquartered at Penn State Harrisburg, and they also has an office in Pittsburgh. And building and supporting Pennsylvania's nearly $22 billion recycling marketplace, the Market Center bridges the relationships between economic development and recycled material supply. Bob holds a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering from Penn State University, is also a lead AP, trained as an ISO 14001 auditor, and is also certified as a senior level recycling professional through the Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania. So at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Sean.
Thanks, Mark. Can you all see my screen and can you hear me?
Ken, thanks.
Great. Okay, thanks. So yeah, thank you all for your time today. It looks like we got about 60 people here, which is just fantastic that we have that many people interested in sustainability. So that's great. And again, thanks to Mark and the GreenGov and Penn State team for the invitation to speak to you all today. So a little background on SSC, Sustainable Solutions Corporation. We're a certified women business enterprise. We're a member of the U.S. Green Building Council, the USGBC. We're LEED, that's Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, proven provider, and Energy Star partner. And then a background on what we do. So we are a sustainability consulting firm founded in 2001, and our mission is to drive positive global change through sustainability. We have engineers and scientists focusing on sustainable buildings and life cycle assessments, which we'll get into a little bit later. And our mission there is to reduce embodied and operational carbon, which again, I'll define today. We have a sister company called Green Circle Certified, which is a third-party independent certifier of sustainability claims. And it's something to share with you. In our last company meeting, I told our team that we're very lucky to be doing what we're doing right now because we have an opportunity every day to help stop climate change by educating and empowering our clients to make more sustainable choices. Our headquarters are in Royersford, PA, right next to the Schuylkill River. And for those of you who can tell by the way I pronounce that name, I'm not a PA native. Don't hold that against me. I'm actually joining you today from my home in Fairfax, Virginia, close to DC. So again, thanks for having me, and let's jump right in. So some of the concepts we're going to cover today is the life cycle framework, what we mean by embodied carbon, definition of sustainable products and recycled content, the closed loop and the role in the circular economy, quick case study about Regapol in Pennsylvania, and then some additional resources if anyone's interested. So a life cycle framework. When I went through my educational training, I did not have an understanding of life cycle framework and what goes into the life cycle of a building. So if we start at the top here, a life cycle really means from cradle to grave. What does it take to make a building or a product? And if we're focused on buildings, we start with the extraction and processing of raw materials. Then you have to transport that to manufacturing production. That makes your concrete, your gypsum, your glass, your shingles. And then that goes again to the site where it's installed and you build your building. Then at the end of life, what happens to those material components at the end of life does have an impact on the life cycle impact of a building. So all of this has embodied carbon in it, right? Because we're spending energy to extract resources, and then there's operational carbon that's spent in the operation of that building over time. So what we help our clients do is think about embodied carbon in terms of how can you improve and reduce your embodied carbon in either a building or product. And that can be sourcing raw materials from a closer location, integrating recycled content, which is what we're going to focus on today, using renewable energy. There's a whole host of different areas. And so what is really the environmental impact of building a building and operating over time? Well, that's what life cycle assessments take a snapshot of. And what I mean by that is life cycle assessments are done according to an ISO standard, where you take a snapshot of the environmental impact of a building or a product. And there's different ways to measure that environmental impact. The main one that we see focusing on in the marketplace right now is global warming potential, which is your carbon footprint. But there are additional environmental impacts like acidification, eutrophication, ozone layer depletion, smog formation, and fossil fuel depletion. But today we're really going to focus in on this carbon footprint because that is of utmost importance right now, especially with our climate crisis. So what is embodied carbon, right? As we're looking at that that circular in a linear format now, the embodied carbon is what it takes to actually build the building, right? Once the building is built, then we classify it as a little different. We call it operational carbon, right? So that would be the carbon related to generating the power that a building consumes over time, right? Operational carbon would also be the natural gas that, say, goes into furnaces and boilers to heat the building. And then at the end, we have the disposal, which also has a life cycle impact. So which is more, if you think about it, right? Is there more embodied carbon over the life cycle of a building, or is operational carbon a greater impact on the environment? And the answer you're going to love is depends, right? But there are choices that we can make in the design and construction of buildings that will overall lower the embodied carbon. And that is looking at, for one example, looking at recycled content in some of the building products. And that's really where we're going to focus today. So recycled content, right? The objective here is that we want to certify products for total recycled content based on pre and post-consumer recycled content. So what are those definitions? Pre-consumer content, you see here, would be, say, scrap from an industrial process, right? In a shingle plant, whatever's left over, is there a way to repurpose that leftover scrap, put it back into the product life cycle? And that would be considered pre-consumer. Post-consumer content would be trash, recycling that's generated from your home or from your office. So that's the delineating factor there between the two pre and post-consumer content. But what's really interesting here is that there's been market value created to actually use recycled content and to give credit through certification systems like LEED to actually give more credit for building designs that use recycled content in their products. So as you can see right here, in the material and resources credit, sourcing of raw materials, you actually get more credit for products that meet the recycled content criteria, which is great. And now manufacturers are responding to this market signal to say, well, if we can make products with recycled content, there's a market out there because people want to certify their buildings to a higher LEED standard. So this is great, it works out. And then, okay, well then what is a sustainable product, right? It does depend on the product category, but in general, what we're seeing here is that lower embodied energy and carbon footprint, a reduced impact in manufacturing, a design for closed loop, which we're going to get to in a little bit, and then recycled content. These are four major drivers that we're seeing right now that industry is seeing, okay, we want to make these types of products. We just have to figure out how, and then how to market it, which is another thing we'll talk about. So a quick case study on Sika and their EPD data. So EPD is an environmental product declaration, and that is the result of an LCA that they can put on their website that they can market as a sustainable product without revealing, the sort of industry secrets that they want to keep to their own manufacturing process. But there's a lot of data here. What we want to look at is this. The PVC resin recycled content is 14%. This is a transparent way for Sika to show people who are making choices in the design process that if you choose this product, you'll get a 14% recycled content, and 43% is new material or virgin material. So you're really offsetting the embodied energy and creating the new material by using the recycled content. And so companies like Sika are taking the next step well, I'm going to get to this. So you can also see that the 10% recycled content in their product shows that the overall global warming potential is lowered because they're keeping that recycled content in the product loop. So what does that mean? That means that they're taking a linear economy, right, on the left here, which you make something, you use it, and you discard it. Where does it go? It goes to landfill, it goes to waste to energy. It doesn't go back into the product life cycle. But a circular economy is a way to reuse some of the material that otherwise would have been discarded, which is great because it's not just recycling, but it requires a life cycle thinking and multiple strategies and approaches. So some companies are seeing an advantage of this and creating take-back programs, right? So they're finding a way to get their products that are at end of life in a building cycle and retake them into their manufacturing process and use them in new products to not only make more products with recycled content, but also offer those as sustainable products to their customers. And so what's a closed loop product? A closed loop product is basically a product that's certified to be recyclable and can be recycled at end of life and reprocessed into the same or similar products. And there's a lot of claims of closed loop out there, but one thing that adds a lot of weight to that is looking at getting an independent third-party certification. So I mentioned before that Green Circle Certified is our sister company. You're looking at the guidelines that Green Circle uses to actually qualify and quantify closed loop in product claims. And that's going to lead me into the Regapool case study for an analysis of sustainable flooring options. So what Regapool did was actually pretty clever, is they're taking tires, rubber from tires, and making them into sustainable flooring. And what's really interesting is that they took a snapshot, did an LCA of their flooring, and could actually quantify where they're saving in terms of this environmental impact, and now can market this with a Green Circle certification to say we have a 90% recycled content product, and our clients actually want this in their gyms, in their schools. And they can use this independent third party to cut through some of the greenwashing claims that are out there to say, no, we had an independent third party come in, do a deep dive into our processes, and now they can use this in their marketing material to get their product and recycled content out into more building designs. So I think it's just fantastic. I know I went through a lot right there. I want to try to keep it to less than 15 minutes. But I just want to spend a few minutes talking about, our mission is educators, right? And so we have really fantastic resources on our website, really taking a deep dive into embodied carbon, into, how we can reduce our carbon footprint, not just for our companies, but, in our personal lives. And then, the topic of the day, 5 things you didn't know about recycled content. If anyone's interested, you can download these resources for free on the SSC or Green Circle website. I would also have to plug, if anyone listens to podcasts, Tad Redzinski, the founder of SSC and Green Circle, has a fantastic podcast series where he sits down with chief sustainability officers in Fortune 500 companies and really gets to talk to them about some of the issues they're dealing with, leaders in the sustainability sector. And it's a really great listen. So I definitely would say listen, subscribe, rate, review. And if you have any questions, of course, you can reach out at any time. So I know I went through that very quickly. I'll see you the rest of the time to Bob. And I look forward to any questions and answers in the Q&A session. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. We'll give Bob a chance to pull up his presentation, and we'll get to. Looks like you have a few questions that came in, so we'll get to them here at the end here. So, Bob, are you able to? I guess you're probably pulling up your presentation now.
Yeah, that's what we're doing, Mark.
Okay.
Mark, it looks like Bob actually hopped off the call, may have gotten bumped up. So maybe we could do some questions while we're waiting for him to get back on.
Yeah, I thought I
Just
saw him disappear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll give Bob a chance. Oh, here he comes. All right. Bob, are you with us?
I am, Mark. Do you see
Okay,
the presentation?
I do.
All right, very good. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Okay, so I'll continue with with the remarks for today. Thank you for tolerance of that brief technology hiccup on my end. I'll introduce the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center, as well as go through a little bit on the Pennsylvania Recycling Marketplace, talk a little bit about recycling markets development, and then I'm going to equally insert some information on Pennsylvania related building products and tools that hopefully people can use to locate some of these resources moving forward. So as Mark had said earlier, the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center is an independent Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation. We began operations in 2005. We're located at Penn State Harrisburg with an office also in Pittsburgh, and we exist to work on the end use side of the recycling equation and circular economy, really pulling, not pushing material into the marketplace, but rather pulling pulling that material into the marketplace through creation of end use and demand. We are founded as a result of Act 175 of 2002 that required the Commonwealth to form a markets development program for the materials that we generate here in Pennsylvania. Core areas of our outreach include commercialization assistance, applied research, technology acceleration, and really acting as a concierge and a curator of not only recycling business growth related information, but also the materials assistance that goes along with it. In that regard, we do have a very detailed partnership with the Penn State University. Obviously, we're intertwined with with the campus, and the university was the founding organization that helped to get the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center launched and operative back in 2005. So a number of years ago at this point, back in 2017, the Recycling Market Center did an economic impact study of the recycling marketplace here in Pennsylvania. And we employ in Pennsylvania directly, in direct employment in the recycling industry, about 66,000 people. But there's also an additional 110,000 jobs estimated that are indirectly impacted and supported by a result of the recycling and the remanufacturing industries in Pennsylvania. For every one job that's in the recycling industry of Pennsylvania, an additional 1.7 are supported, and it's estimated that the recycling marketplace, the recycling industries in Pennsylvania, the materials handling and processing businesses, the manufacturers that use these ingredients and feedstocks to make new products combine to form a $22.6 billion marketplace. It's also estimated that this marketplace generates $1.7 billion in state and local tax. And just as an example, in my last bullet, the average salary in this combined marketplace was about $65,000, which was 23% above the state average. So in short, recycling means business in Pennsylvania. And to that end, we work in this markets development space. What is it? And it's a number of things. It's connectivity of the reverse supply chain. It's business attraction, growth and retainment, commercialization assistance, translational research that can be brought into and taken out of the university, and the application of new technologies that allow us to harvest more materials and do it more efficiently. It's funding and financing. It's bringing stakeholders together, as has been said many times today. It's bringing in public policy and the regulations that surround it, and certainly the legalities, politics, and the citizenry that support and affect the use of these materials ultimately. So one thing that I've come to coin is that markets development is the intersection of a need with opportunity. And when we look for projects or we look for opportunities, we try to find high volume, high value products. I'll speak about one of those here in a little bit. And whether it's a recycled commodity or a virgin commodity like corn or primary metals or grains or petroleum products, they're very common in that they both secondary materials and primary materials, virgin materials, fluctuate day to day in value on a commodities exchange. And a very popular financial wizard, Mr. Warren Buffett, who's pictured here, has frequently said that the best way to make money in commodities is to stay out of commodities. So consequently, I just want to highlight that even though we do have a manufacturing-based support in Pennsylvania, these materials do fluctuate on a commodities index and consequently are affected day to day by global markets, global economies, and global impacts. So one of the best things we can do to support the circular economy is to look at, buying recycled and strengthening, the end use of these materials by buying recycled, whether that's, paper products like, we see made at American Eagle Paper here in Pennsylvania, or it's other materials as was here in the circular example I gave. One of the strong resources where you can find a lot of information on buying recycled and how to, educate that to the stakeholders that you may deal with is at the Buy Recycled Now website, which I have here as a resource. So looking at building materials also and construction materials, one of the businesses that we've worked with in Pennsylvania a significant amount is Aero Aggregates. They're located near Eddystone in southeast Pennsylvania, and they take container glass, old beer bottles, pickle jars, wine bottles, and manufacture that into an ultra lightweight aggregate, kiln fired aggregate that is in substitute of things like non-renewable shales, expanded shales. They're presently using the equivalent of 140 million beer bottles per year making this product. It's used as a structural and ultra lightweight structural film material. It can be used as a green roof media. There's any one of a number of benefits for this product. We worked with them to do the laboratory investigation to show that their product is not a crystalline silicosis or crystalline silica hazard. And likewise, we've equally worked with them to help them obtain Department of Community and Economic Development grant funds to further develop their product lines, as well as a small business innovation research grant. They've equally done some work with the materials research labs at Penn State through our engagement. So a few resources very quickly. At the PennDOT website, the Strategic Environmental Management Program, if you would like to reference this, there is a series of spreadsheets and files that they have at this website where you can reference the different specifications as well as materials here in Pennsylvania that can be used for aggregate recycled aggregate products, or also products that contain recycled content that could be useful to a project that of which you're engaged. This is a sample from the series of files that are available at that website that explain what the publication or section is referenced in the PennDOT design Manual Publication 408, and what materials can be used and how from a recycled content perspective. Likewise, the Environmental Protection Agency has their comprehensive procurement guidelines for acquisition of recycled content products or materials, as well as their buy recycled literature that goes with it. This was recently renewed and reviewed for public comment about a year ago and updated. So, if you're looking for, different types of federally approved products, this is where you could look for products of recycled content. Another strong website for looking at recycled content options in building materials as well as retail or consumer products is the Recycle More website. There's a very nice buy recycled products directory there, so I place this here as a resource as well for everyone. In terms of the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center, we're equally building, or I should say rebuilding, a recycling market search or recycling markets database previously managed and housed within the Department of Environmental Protection. We're hoping to have this operative, I'm going to say, by mid-year. I've been pushing the date back because we really needed to reconstruct DEP's database. There were a number of concerns with the structure of the database, and that's what we've been working on for quite some time. But this, when it's finished, we'll be able to show, and it is operative at DEP's website now, but we're improving it significantly. And this will be a resource for the various businesses and manufacturers in Pennsylvania that make use of different materials in their products, and will be a listing of that. So to that end, on the next several slides, and I provide this more as a resource for everyone, in the area of plastics and also construction and demolition materials and repurposed and reclaimed materials, glass, paper, rubber products, and there you see Regupol America that Sean had mentioned, and metals related products. I have all of those slides in there as resources for everyone. It's really a listing on those various slides of Pennsylvania companies and what their related products are, building products or other types of products that are of recycled content. So devoid of our database being up and running, I at least wanted to provide some of those more significant interests as a resource for everyone. One of the other programs that we started is our Blueprints for Recyclability program, where we will help manufacturer to review and design and update either their product or packaging to be more recyclable, to be designed for recyclability. Some of the companies we've worked with so far on this are listed here: Martin Guitar, Wise Markets, Geldwin, and Patent Picture Company. I can't go into much details on many of those just because we did have non-disclosure relationships, but this is another offering through the Recycling Market Center, and something that we equally work on time to time with sustainable solutions. One of the final things I'll talk about that we just launched in December is our Circular Merchant product or platform. This is a web-based as well as mobile app-based reuse and recycled materials exchange platform. So you can go to the Google Marketplace or the Apple App Store and search for Circular Merchant, and for free download the Circular Merchant onto your smart device, or you can reference it through your browser. But basically, this is a way to post materials that or items that you would like to divest of, as well as, if you're interested in looking for materials, post that you're interested in certain items, and it's all updated to be real time. So someone can take a picture of what they have, upload it, and immediately have it advertised Likewise, if I'm looking for something, once a week, push notification goes out that provides updates as to what's listed. We've already had successful business pairings between the Lycoming County recycling operation and a materials or recycling processor in Berks County. We've equally been able to place some, roofing spent or scrap roofing shingles through this in just a few months of operation. We're very interested in building a critical mass of postings or listings as well as participants. So I certainly encourage everybody to take a look at this and use it. At one point, about 15, 16 years ago, something very similar was housed with the Small Business Development Center network, and we actually worked with them to begin managing it, but then to also upgrade it significantly into the platform that it is now. Seeing that in 2018, many of the materials, recycled materials that we have that were going to the Asian marketplace actually could no longer go overseas due to trade restrictions, and consequently, in an effort to facilitate domestic transaction, or even somewhat yard sale of different things, we began the circular merchant platform. And with that, I conclude my remarks for today, and thank you again for the tolerance in between of my switch over to from Sean, and I'm sure we'll turn it back over to Mark and take any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Yeah, no problem. And very useful presentations from both Bob and Sean. And it was a big lift to ask you guys to put a lot into 15 minutes apiece. So I think you did a great job with it. And at this point, I'll stop the recording and then we can turn over to the chat and see what kind of questions folks have.